indebted to these friends, not only to the Chin brothers, but those senior Rotarians of your district, such as the late former Vice President of RI, Dr. Arthur Tevathasan, whose son is here. Arthur Tevathasan was actually my first Rotary teacher and guidance when I attended my first Rotary District Assembly in Seremban as an incoming club secretary in 1959. And the late past governors like Mike Boyle, Tan Sri Dr. Teh Tek Eng, Walter Rintol, Keki Medeora, I Peng Liang, I'm not yet 890 yet. And past presidents, for instance, like I Peng Liang and Keki Medeora, just to mention just a few. So much so that although all of them, except one, that is Philbert Chin, are no longer with us, I still feel strongly that all of those friends of mine have an impact on my life as I continue to serve Rotary like all of you here. From what I have said, you will see that my membership in the then District 330 had gone through many significant changes. We have witnessed the tremendous growth from one district in 6 to 6 districts, and from just over 1,000 Rotarians some 4 decades ago to almost 12,000 Rotarians now in the 6 districts. My fellow Rotarians, you and I believe, have many dreams. Yet we have to admit that if one of the dreams is to see the rainbow, we must endure the rain. But you are here at this time not to see the rainbow. Still, you cannot avoid enduring the rain and the storm in order to seek ways and means to fulfill your dreams. It is at a conference like such as this that we are putting our hands, our heads, and our hearts together, enduring the rain and the storm to try to make Rotary a real force for good. But after all, what indeed is Rotary? What indeed are our core values? Core values are what have kept Rotary strong even after more than 100 years. They are service, fellowship, diversity, integrity, and leadership. Looking out at the audience right now, I see many faces with many colors intermingled like the waters of a river. But looking back again, I see only one face. I see you, the core of the Rotary movement, who will shape the future of Rotary for years to come. You are the diversity that built our service in fellowship with integrity and leadership. Service is, of course, our first core value. Service above self. Service is what gives us our image don't talk too much about public image. It's a service, it's an action, it's a service project which give us public image. Service is what gives us our image. What we do or what we don't do. This is how Rotary is judged. And that is how we get the image we deserve. If we serve well, then we will have an image that people respect. But there is no one who can serve for us. No one can serve us our image on a silver tray. We have to work for it. We have to carry out the service ourselves. But more important than our image is our credo, service above self. In order to live up to that credo, to carry out our service takes time and patience. That is why we must take time to serve. Time is not something that business and professional men and women with busy schedules can easily afford to give. This I realize very, very well. Nevertheless, we must find time and manage our time efficiently. It doesn't mean that you have to give up recreation, your game of golf, or you out fishing or other hobbies. Instead, it means that taking something away from them and making Rotary your hobby. Then there will be the time needed for service. This, in my opinion, is Rotary service. Service is not writing a checkbook. I repeat, service is not writing a checkbook or donating money. Acting as charity organization certainly is not our aim. Service is when we make available of our time to give of ourselves. It is the best way, and I think the only way we will keep Rotary running on track in the years ahead. I think today the world needs Rotary far more than when the four men first met on that freezing night so long ago. Because today Rotary offers a unique and precious light of hope in an already dim world with an ever-darkening horizon. There is no doubt that the needs now are greater and more diverse than ever before. And the need for Rotary fellowship is ever growing, as it is through fellowship that Rotarians conquer the world's challenges together. The challenges we face in making the world more equitable over the broad range of human needs amount indeed to a steep mountain to climb. We embrace Rotary core value of leadership, rallying together the resources, the energy, the drive of many people to see the job done, so that when it is done, the people will say, we did it ourselves. This is Rotary in action. This is setting our objectives by ourselves. And we do the work by ourselves, not by the command from Rotary International. When President Yongchai of the Rotary Club of Rangsit in Thailand, District 3350, was able to save his wife, his daughter, and a Rotary friend, while he himself was out of breath and finally drowned after his boat was capsized. upon their return home after a hard day work, a hands-on service on the National Immunization Day mission. That was a sad day for Rotary and for Yung Chai's family. Still, all of Rotary is felt. Though sadly but proudly, that Yung Chai's leadership was never in doubt. My fellow Rotarians, I admit that nowadays the demands that Rotary International impose upon the clubs are increasingly becoming a heavy burden upon the administration of the club, to such an extent that the operation of Rotary is now a full-time job. As a result, fellowship among the members of the club has been diluted because of time constraints that hamper club attendance and created undesirable consequences. Many clubs have to close down because of lack of activity and unity. This is one of the reasons why we lost so many members lately. Think, not only the regular weekly meetings, but the committee meetings, the fireside meetings, the seminars on membership development, the Rotary Foundation, the public image, the pre-pets, the pets, the district assembly, the district conference, and the international convention, so forth and so on. Think about all these Rotary meetings. And think about the new creation of the so many new positions in Rotary International. The Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator, the Regional Rotary Membership Coordinator, the Regional Rotary International Coordinator, the Rotary International Coordinator, and the Public Image Coordinator. All these are new positions in Rotary. Furthermore, by revamping corporate governance team and creating senior leader support team, the expenditure of RI increases, and Rotarians at large will have to bear the burden. Why should they join Rotary? Why should they join Rotary? Since Rotary is no exception, no different, it's not different from other service organizations. Why should they waste their time and money joining a club, doing a bit of this, doing a bit of that, and focuses on raising money only, and very often does not even know what to do with the money raised? With the new General Secretary, John Hugo, in place of the former General Secretary, Ed Futer, the Rotary world looks to the possible revamp of the Secretariat to make it more efficient in rendering services to clubs and districts in a proper manner. Whether it will be a positive or negative trend, we will see in the not too distant future. It will certainly be not an easy task for the new General Secretary, because in my opinion, Rotary has now become a gigantic bureaucratic establishment. I'm sad in saying that, but it is very true. Rotary movement has become a bureaucratic establishment. It is very true. This has been accepted by the Council of Past RI Presidents when we met 2 years ago. During the last 5 years, I think we have added no less than 100 new staff members at the Secretariat, while the services to clubs and districts requires room for improvement. Furthermore, as the RI board has created more top-down programs top-down programs. It has therefore created new positions, as I mentioned earlier, while the responsibility of the governor to the clubs is being diluted by these new volunteers' jobs. Many years ago, a president of Rotary International made one very important target of his year: to keep Rotary simple. The emphasis by Paul Lang, an Italian president, should not be forgotten. I say it is more relevant today with the increase of the many new programs and varying challenges that confront our organization. Rotary must, of course, be modern in its approach to the complicated problems of today's world. But its approach must remain simple. Complexity of procedures must be avoided at all costs. It would seem to me that flexibility should go hand in hand with keeping Rotary as uncomplicated as possible. I agree that all that is good in Rotary, all the new programs and the new emphasis which are available are the result of some Rotarians somewhere seeking an opportunity for service, an opportunity to make his or her membership more effective and more meaningful. This is one of the strengths of Rotary. But we must realize that what is best and most effective in one country may not be what is best and most effective in another country. Rotary International must realize this. Rotary International, therefore, must be made aware of this fact and must realize that this fundamental aspect, respecting the autonomy of the club. As the members of the Ethics Committee of the Thai Parliament, although I'm not a parliamentarian now, but as a member, I was appointed as a member of the Ethics Committee of the Thai Parliament. Those of you who are from Singapore, I envy you. I envy you. Your country is the world's most least corrupt nation. The Singapore citizen should uphold and practice ethical standards very highly in their daily lives. Perhaps Rotary International District 3310 has had a share in making that possible. But my fellow Rotarians elsewhere, we see abuses committed for personal gain, ego, greed-driven leadership, and conflicts for nothing but for one's own power. A fog that clouds those sinfully minded people makes it difficult for them to comprehend that their actions carry with them international ramifications. And so almost every day, we hear about the flouting of legal and regulatory provisions, the granting of monopoly privileges to friends and relatives and financial brokers, vote buying, resources wastage, human exploitation. The list of abuses committed for personal gain is depressing long. There is crisis of ethics everywhere. One case in particular, which is known to you all, which shocked the world a few years ago and questioned the integrity of those people responsible for the operation of any institution. I refer to the case of the Enron Corporation, which after a few years of operation became the world's biggest energy trader with the annual revenues of over 100 billion US dollars. Its sudden collapse eventually drove accounting and auditing colossus Arthur Andersen into liquidation. Another case that took place a few years ago in my country, in Thailand, involved an influential politician whose manipulation of stock shares in a public company resulted in a tax-exempt gain of 2 billion US dollars. The deal caused a big public outcry and sparked a political crisis in my country that continues until today. The transaction may have been legal, but morally and ethically, could it be right? The deal stings with evidence of serious law breaking that could result in the politician going to jail. And indeed, he was sentenced to jail. To my great astonishment, in a poll conducted recently in Thailand, or whether it was acceptable to cheat in business, 84% said yes. 84% said yes. When asked whether it is all right to cheat in politics, 51% said okay. If the politicians were able administrators. The poll indicates that Thai society is guided by 40 moral compass. Even though the poll did not tell the whole story, it shows a certain sector of Thai society is misguided. The society's moral compass distinguishes right from wrong. It points to what is ethical and virtuous. Those who said it was all right to cheat in business might not know that many ordinary American citizens in the Enron case saw their life savings disappear in a massive swindle scheme. Some have committed suicide because they see no future in living a destitute life in old age. Now, how can we as Rotarians try to divert this trend, or at least do something to prevent it from spreading out further in society and even in Rotary? I ask you to please take a look what can be done as far as Rotarians are concerned. We all know what sets Rotaries apart and what makes it so unique. It is its classification principle. To me, it is really Rotary's trademark. It is Rotary's fundamental characteristic, the manner in which it gives its Rotarian the privilege of expressing one's commitment to ethical principles of which life in society is always in need. The fact that our membership is made up of such diverse professions and business classifications ensures us a many-sided approach to any given problem. We will not concern ourselves necessarily with those problems of business education. For Rotary's prime interest is not processes, procedures, and systems. The common problem in every business and every profession is in our dealings with people. Our attitudes and approaches to them are of the greatest significance. Furthermore, Rotary has a great opportunity to impart two priceless ingredients into the relationship between individuals, between business firms, and between nations. They are integrity and a sense of sympathetic understanding. High ethical standards as we deal with one another has always been the paramount objective of vocational service. However, this distinguishing characteristic in Rotary becomes evident and recognized only through the individual action of the Rotarian. So unless the Rotarians reflect the ideals and purpose of our movement in his or her attitudes, in his or her behavior, and in the role as a citizen and professional, we will be unable to reach our goal to improve the world in which we live. Now you might say that in theory, Bhichai, that in theory. This may sound very well, but Bhichai, it is not practical. Having said so, I believe that Rotary does not profess to teach people to behave ethically and with integrity. I think Rotary objective is to encourage application in business and professional life of an attitude which is known to be there already. Rotary reminds us of broad principles, but the interpretation and application are matters between Rotarians and his or her conscience. I have discussed with you about ethics and vocational service for quite a while. But what actually is vocational service? In my humble opinion, I think there are two answers to this question. First, exemplifying the ideal of service in the conduct of our job. And second, sharing the ideal of service with non-Rotarians in our business and professions. If Rotarians cannot do this, then the main purpose of Rotary is defeated. A big responsibility, therefore, is placed on the membership committee. There were many proposals on membership at the council legislation last month. As they started to draft this talk in March, I cannot predict the outcome of some of the very controversial proposals on Rotary membership proposed by the board of RI. But whatever changes were made in April by the representative of the council legislation, I still feel that very strongly that if the wrong type of member is submitted with relaxed on classification principle and attendance requirements, then vocational service is bound to fail and its worldwide reputation will be impaired. In the eyes of the public, a few bad members discredited the entire institution. This is very true, and in many cases I have witnessed all along this year. Think about it. Do you believe more young people would like to join us? A club like any other clubs? Just a fundraising club with nothing significant and thus not different from other clubs. There's no doubt that vocational service is essential to the life of the individual and is perhaps the best area through which each Rotarian can express his or her idealism and the real sense of usefulness as a citizen and as a human being. Yes, my friends, vocational service is integrity and trust. Yes, vocational service seeks to improve the standard of business and profession, not only among the public, but more importantly, amongst the Rotarians themselves. Unfortunately, many of us have forgotten this most important element of Rotary's philosophy. What a great shame that they have deliberately ignored the application of ethics and integrity in our business and professional life, and even in the business of Rotary. In applying ourselves to the task of upholding the highest ethical standards, we have to treat resolutely, I repeat the word resolutely, but warily. Many years ago, the first Japanese to serve as our right president, Kiyoshi Tokasaki, told me a good story on this subject. He described how an enthusiastic young Rotarian called on the businessman in town and told him resolutely that he should end his dishonest advertising. The next day, that young Rotarian turned up at the luncheon meeting, somewhat chastened and with a black eye. And not surprisingly, he requested a transfer to the International Service Committee, where he believed would be less dangerous. Now, I don't expect you to go to that extreme. Vocational service for almost 10 years, you know that. I'm so glad that it has taken up vocational service quite seriously again, and the forward test quite seriously. Indeed, times may have changed, but not the definition of the integrity. My friends, I'm not suggesting that the four-way test could be applied in the hope to avert the tragic ending of any enterprises. But certainly this could be applied and practiced in Rotary and by Rotarians everywhere. I'm positive that if we take vocational service seriously and accept it, that it asks much of us, then the influence of a movement of a friendly, trustworthy, and serviceable men and women will continue to increase. In just little over a month, the year under the presidency of Sakuji Tanaka ends. So thus this year's theme, Peace Through Service. But Rotary's ideas of service doesn't end here. Under our next president, Ron Burton, who has challenged us to engage Rotary, change lives, begins in earnest. It is thoughtfulness of and helpfulness to others that we engage ourselves and change people's lives. Years back, in 1969, when I first ran for public office in my country, my campaign duties including delivering speeches from the back of a truck. One night, very late, we were at a stop in a poor slum area. We had quite a crowd there who was still waiting for us at that late hour to hear from us. I had to shout to be heard. At the conclusion of my speech, I was shaking hands with the people when a youngster gently pushed his way to the front of the crowd, calling to me, "Uncle, uncle." He was holding a little paper cone filled with sugar cane, filled with bits of sugar cane. He offered to me, saying, "After so much talking, you must be very thirsty." I was indeed very thirsty, like now. Now, my fellow Rotarians, to think that child had so little, and yet he found an opportunity to serve. He had the means to soothe the scratchy throat of a tired politician, and he offered it freely and gladly. This small act of thoughtfulness planted a seed in my heart that has grown over the years I think of this boy and his simple gesture, and I'm inspired to ask myself, can I be this thoughtful? What can I do to engage Rotary and change life? How many of us have chosen to be a part of this great service organization, are as kind as this in our daily life? How many of us remember to think of others first and to think of ourselves, what we can do to others to engage Rotary and change life? Only you can help. It was in 1985 when I was invited to speak on Rotary Youth Program at the district conference in Nashville, Tennessee, USA. Proudly and confidently, the boy took up the task. For a few minutes, the cause was true. Then, imperceptibly, the ship began to veer. Soon, the star could be seen off the side of the ship. And by the end of the hour, was directly astern. The captain appeared about at the same time. He was greeted by a shout from the boy, "Captain, Captain, show me another star. We are making such a good time. We have passed that one already. Let it back now." My fellow Rotarians, when you return to your homes after this conference, please remind yourself that the object of Rotary provides each club with a chart for a voyage of significant service. The precise course plotted by each Rotarian depends upon his or her individual interests and abilities, and how they look and appreciate the values of Rotary. But I believe that we all can make the passage successfully if we keep constantly before us that North Star, which will be the focus of the new Rotary year, to show through all our actions in engaging Rotary and changing lives. Somewhere over the rainbow, so sang Judy Garland in the famous movie of the late 30s, The Wizard of Oz. Yes, my fellow Rotarians, the rainbow is up high. To some it is reachable, yet to many it may seem unattainable. To see the rainbow, one has to endure the rain and the storm. And here again, how far and how long you can endure the rain and the storm just to see the rainbow, I do not know.